Since 1984, Sawyer has existed to support your wildest adventures. Learn about their advanced insect repellents and family of technical lightweight water filters at Sawyer.com.
Welcome to Wellness in the Wilderness. Come with us on the trail of life as we inspire you to take a step outdoors, to disconnect from the distractions and reconnect with yourself. Sydney Williams and her guests will motivate you to get active and get well. Now, here is Sydney.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Wellness in the Wilderness. I'm your host, Sydney Williams, author and founder of Hiking My Feelings. And today I'm broadcasting live from the ancestral lands of the Tongva people, now known as Avalon, California, on Catalina Island. Heyo. So this week, I am really excited that we're here on Catalina because it's just awesome. And we moved here on a Monday. So now I count Mondays when I write the Wellness in the Wilderness newsletter. I'm like, okay, we've been here for 3 Mondays. So we've been here for 2 full weeks. And I got to say, it is everything I dreamed of and then some as far as island life goes. I absolutely love it. And we are doing some really cool things out here. And we'll be talking more about that next week. We have a big announcement on next week's episode. And today's guest, Samuel J., was supposed to be here to talk about efforts and his music. And unfortunately, he had a travel snafu and is currently flying home from Sundance. So he is unable to join us this week, but we are postponing his episode and rescheduling it. So stay tuned for that. And in the absence of Samuel, I get to bump up 2 of my favorite humans on this planet. So if you guys are loving the music for the show as much as I am, then today's your lucky day because you get to talk with and hear from the musicians that have made this music possible. So today's show, we are speaking with Alific, aka Brendan Dane, and Man of the Forest, aka Derek Waldmann. Alific is a music producer and multi-instrumentalist who artistically combines reggae-influenced grooves with an electronic execution to create a unique musical experience. And the violin has always been a part of Derek Waldmann, aka Man of the Forest. As a young child, he was influenced by John Tesh and the partnering of some Charlie guy on electric violin whose last name I'm going to butcher. He attended their show live at Red Rocks in 1995. And when the violin shimmered in, he knew it was his life's journey to create the magic that comes with this mystical instrument. We're going to talk to both of them about Green Hills, which is the track that they so generously allowed us to use before it was even released. And we're going to talk about their adventures, how nature inspires their music, and we're going to go from there. So hey, fellas, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Oh, my gosh. So this summer, I'm just going to set the story up for folks that might not be following us on the internet and all the love stories that I've written about this track so far. But so everybody picture this. You're in a bungalow in Pacific Beach, San Diego, and it's the coolest house you've ever seen. And we're in a studio in this house, and I'm sitting on these stairs, and Brendan plays this track, and he's like, hey, man, does this sound like Titanic or an Irish jig? Like music you would die to, or something you might hear in Boston on St. Patrick's Day at a bar? And I was like, how about neither? It sounds like 4 Seasons of Nature. And Derek was like, ding, ding, ding. That's the right answer. That's what we were going for. So from the second that I heard this song, literally, guys, opening chords, I was like, I looked at Barry and I was like, we must have this song. The world must hear it. Wellness in the Wilderness will not go on if we don't have this track to be the soundtrack of this show. So here we are, episode 9. We've been blessing thousands of listeners with this tune. It's unreleased. The first thing I want to talk about, guys, is how nature inspires your music. And Brendan, I'd like to start with you. Brendan, for folks who don't know, grew up in New England. And his most obvious, I think, connection to nature and inspiration that he's drawn from his time outside is a song called Loons, where it quite literally has the sounds of loons, which if you haven't heard a loon, go Google it. It's one of my favorite sounds on the planet that comes from an animal, that and an elk bugling. Talk to me a little bit about your life, Brendan, and how nature has inspired your music.
Yeah. Well, the loon's always been one of my favorite sounds from New Hampshire. I grew up on I didn't grow up on the lake, but I got a lake house. And ever since as a kid, I always loved this sound. We'd always go out as a family and listen to these loons go. I mean, I can't even replicate it. I'm not even going to do it. but it's the coolest sound I've ever heard. Like, as animals talking to each other. And, I guess from there, it kind of, I've always wanted to do a song with it. And, that's where kind of the song from Loon came from. I actually recorded it with my iPhone sitting out there on a sunset one night. And then I was like, oh, this with a hip hop beat would be cool. Anyway, and that's where that went from. But always loved nature. My parents kind of always forced me, and I went to summer camp, hiking as a kid. Grew up in the woods. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, but all my friends lived in town. I lived like in the actual woods, where my playground was picking up a stick and running through the woods. It's always been a huge part of my life, and kind of where I found my playground as a kid. I mean, I wasn't allowed. Actually, my mom probably didn't want me to go out with other people, so I kind of just stuck to the woods. And it was cool because I always thought like a stick could become so much of a toy. I didn't have to have video games. It could be a bazooka. It could be a bow and arrow. It could be a spear. It could be a catapult thing, like anything. So I always loved it. I always loved the outdoors.
Well, I like how you because when I'm out hiking, and I think probably more so in the last 5 years since we've been doing Hiking My Feelings, almost 5 years, and our friendships that we've developed with musicians like you guys, like now when I'm out hiking, if I like have my trekking poles and it hits a rock a certain way or it hits a log a certain way, I'm like, ooh, I like the tone of that sound. And so that was one of the things that I really like about your music, because I was like, oh my gosh, the sound of this wind whistling through the leaves would make like a really sick sound on a song. And then like, here's a song with an actual bird sample. Like that's the kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of people that sing about nature. There's a lot of people that like use nature to inspire lyrics, or like it might have anything to do with nature, the song itself, but it was like in a natural space where the inspiration came and where it was written or whatever. But like, I love the literal inclusion of nature in the music. So thank you for giving us some background on that. Derek, you grew up in Colorado. Your parents own a garden center. Your last name translates to man of the forest. You're a plant daddy. Tell me a little bit about how nature has always been like, it's a core part of your identity. Your musical name is Man of the Forest. So walk us through that a little bit, how nature's been important to you and inspires your music.
Yeah. Ever since I was a kid, just growing up in Colorado, going to, we used to call it the rocks and water, just going out and like playing in the water. And I remember my mom would always be like, bring the violin and play in nature. You know, it's a beautiful thing. So ever since I was a kid, I would bring my violin out, and like, I don't know. I have always been super closely connected with plants and nature. I just found so much inspiration from it. So later on, you know, being able to connect with Alific, our second track ever was a song called Deep, where we have this, you know, kind of instrumental jam going, but it felt very water forward. It felt like a very water song. So we included water in the track, in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. And to be connecting with Alific, you know, to play some of the reggae stuff is always great. And then to have these instrumental nature inspired songs like Deep, like his song Loon. He has another song called Down the Road, where he's like, you know, you can hear like the water trickling on the van. I feel very blessed to be able to integrate it and give it out to the rest of the world, because, you know, as a kid, you do it, you know, just for fun and for inspiration. So to give it back to the world, I'm very grateful to have this connection with Brendan.
Oh my God, you guys are so cute. So Brendan and Alific met at a music festival. You guys met at Closer to the Sun, correct?
We did.
Yeah. So Derek has this like magical ability to just find ways to add value. This is what Derek does. Derek's like, I like this music. I have a violin. This scene desperately needs this layer of emotion. So you got linked up with Alific as a fan, and now here you are jamming, making magic. You guys are living together, you're roommates, you're adventure buddies. Like what has it been like to navigate exactly what you just said? Like my introduction to both of you was on the reggae side of things. And then through that, I learned about these instrumental tracks that are so captivating and really reflect the experiences that you've had in nature. What has it been like to move in that direction? Was that something you were interested in doing, Derek, before you met Alific, and or were you already creating music of that kind yourself? Or was this translation of nature into music? Was that more of something that you guys kind of jumped in on together?
I think I have always been trying to do that, but I just didn't have the tools and the knowledge. And with Alific's, background, he's been doing music his whole life, audio engineering and producing, and he's so skilled with what he does. So yes, I've always been able to play stuff, but to integrate it and bring something to the next level, doing that with Alific, we combined forces. And I remember the first time we met, it was like, hey, dude, I play violin. I love jamming to your music. And he was like, dude, I have a song right now that I want to put violin on. And that ended up being our first song. It's called Hotep, which in translation means to be at peace. And the beginning of it is just like this glorious intro. And then it comes in and it just comes out this funky vibe. So, I feel like we've always been on the right path, but once we connected forces, it's like we brought each other to the next level as far as what we could do with our instruments.
Yes. Ooh. Brendan, so on our next little chunk of time after our first commercial, we're going to talk about your trip to New Zealand. But before we break, I'd love for you to kind of set up, went into this massive expedition that you took yourself on last summer. It was like 40 days. You're like all over the island doing everything. What were the conditions that led to that trip? And what kind of planning did you do to be able to go have that kind of experience?
But wait, we're doing that now?
Yeah, just set it up. Like, let's talk about the trip. And then when we come back from commercial, we'll get into like some of the actual stories from it.
Well, I guess it's been a bucket list trip forever. I think since college, when I heard about one person that went on a camping van in New Zealand, I was like, I want to do that. And I always heard that you don't want to do it for a week. You want to do it for a month or 40 days. You want to do both islands. And so I've always just been waiting for a time to do it. And with jobs, working 9 to 5, full time, it's always been impossible pretty much. And then I saw a window opportunity. I was just like, boom, I'm going to do it.
I love that. So a couple things that we're going to be chatting about when we get back from the break. One, this song, Green Hills. I'd love to chat a little bit about, actually, let's just do that now. Where were you? How did this get set up? Like what is Green Hills? And for folks that are listening, I was hoping that we would be able to play it for you live today on the broadcast, but unfortunately we're unable to. So you're just going to have to wait, and we'll talk about when it's coming out, and we'll talk about when you can hear it. And when we go to commercial, you can like hear the guitar and the violin underneath the VO. But guys, tell me about Green Hills, where you were when you created it and how it came to life.
I think Alific always had the jam down, like the guitar work down. And I think if the story's correct, Brendan, you were playing it for years, that guitar riff, with your friends and stuff. And it has this really strange kind of eerie part to it that it goes to that nobody really knew what to do with. So as soon as he played it one time, I remember we just were like sitting on the couch, and it just, boom, it just like, we knew it was something right then, right? Right, Brendan?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, it was like, I guess half born until Derek started playing violin on it. And that's where it really just became alive. Like it was just kind of a backyard, fire escape jam, for years. And then, it was just when me and Derek play, it's kind of just it's so easy. Like he just plays something and it's just like, that's perfect. And that's essentially what it was. it was just like, yeah, that's it. And
yeah, I remember too, like a couple times when we were playing it, we started playing it. We just kind of came up with a format, and like Sydney said, it has the 4 seasons part. So when you listen to the full song, it kind of goes through the song 4 times, but in 4 different ways. And I remember like hanging out in Colorado, out by Red Rocks, and jamming that song, and I felt like we were like in the mystic of it. Like, I don't know, there's just something so powerful about actually playing it outdoors together in that moment. It just really like tied it all together in a way,
Yes. Ooh, I love it. All right, cool. So when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about some of the adventures that Brendan had on his massive expedition through New Zealand. Quotable, when he got home, he was like, so like, we're friends. We know what you do, hiking my feelings, but like, I get it now. Like, I understand what hiking my feelings means. So, Brendan, if you're open to it, when we get back, I'd love for you to tell the story about the waterfall and the cave and and Derek is one of the musicians that we've had at 3 of our retreats now, one on Catalina Island in fall of 2021 2 retreats, and one of our Sequoia retreats last summer. So when we get back, we'll talk about the retreats that we do and kind of catch up with Derek about how that impacts him and his ability to uplift. He says it's a gift to uplift. And we'll hear some stories of adventures and misadventures in New Zealand with Brendan when we get back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Brendan and Derek.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Have you ever spoken unkindly to yourself? Do you realize when you do? Are you ready to make changes, but find yourself completely paralyzed by the choices in front of you? We live in a hyper-connected, always-on world, and frankly, it's exhausting. Let's make time to disconnect from the distractions and reconnect with yourself. Hiking My Feelings exists to help people discover the healing power of nature. Kickstart your healing journey and grab a copy of the book that started our movement, Hiking My Feelings, Stepping into the Healing Power of Nature. Named one of Audible's best hiking audiobooks and available wherever books are sold. Visit hikingmyfeelings.org today to learn more.
Sawyer is more than an outdoor company. Every Sawyer product you buy contributes to our common humanity, bringing Sawyer water filtration systems to people in need all around the world. In just 2022 alone, 260,000 households in over 45 countries received clean drinking water through Sawyer filters. Over the past 10 years, we've teamed up with over 140 charities in 80 countries to provide long-term, sustainable relief, domestically, internationally, and in disaster situations. Together, we're saving millions of lives. Thank you.
Ready to find your wellness in the wilderness? Look no further than Hiking My Feelings. Through a combination of community and self-discovery, our programs are designed to give you the space and support to connect life's dots. If you're looking to figure out who you are underneath the stories you've been given and are ready to redesign the map of where you're headed with actionable steps and opportunities to dream big, we're here to walk alongside you. Whether you're a seasoned adventure enthusiast or brand new to the healing power of nature, we've got your back. Visit hikingmyfeelings.org today to download our free Trail Thoughts worksheets and learn more about Hiking My Feelings.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You're listening to Wellness in the Wilderness with Sydney Williams. Have a question for Sydney and her guests? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now back to the show with Sydney.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Wellness in the Wilderness. I'm your host, Sydney Williams, and I'm here with Brendan and Derek. And if you were on the Zoom right now, you would understand my giggles. When the music comes back and we hear their songs, they're like playing like air guitaring and air violining. And it just brings me such joy. And I'm really like, at some point, I hope I get to hear and be in the room when the song is played live, because I've only ever heard the song played in the studio, which I'm not mad about, but I'd also like really like to feel the vibrations in a live setting. So before the break, we were talking about Green Hills, the song that we use for the show, and the 4 seasons of just instrumental goodness that it carries. And towards the end of the show, we'll tell you when you get to hear that for real, because it's not going to be today. And we'll talk about the upcoming album and all the cool things you guys got going on. But before the break, we were talking about how Brendan went on this massive expedition around New Zealand. And when he got home, he was like, guys, I get it. Hiking my feelings. Like, that's what I was doing. I was hiking my feelings. Like, I understand. And so one of my favorite stories that Brendan shared, and I'm sure he has some that he hasn't shared with us, and maybe he'll like pull one of those out today. But Brendan, tell us about your cave hike. And also, let's just set this up. So you went to New Zealand in like September, October last year, or October, November?
Yeah, October, pretty much full month of October.
Yeah. Okay. And so
into November.
And for anybody that doesn't know, this show's broadcasting from the United States of America, but on the other side of the planet, down below, down under, as they say, the seasons are opposite. So we were coming into fall here in the United States, and you were embodying all the glory that is spring in New Zealand, right?
Yes.
So what happens on spring in New Zealand? It rains?
A lot of rain. Of rain. Yeah. I showed up and it was pouring. Probably the most rain I've ever seen in my life. And I got in a van on the opposite side of the car and the opposite side of the road, and very narrow, windy roads. And it was a test. I remember the first couple hours, I almost was like crying. I was like, did I make the right decision here? Like, I'm white knuckle driving, and I can't even see out the window wipers won't even go fast enough. It's that much rain. And I'm like going around these turns that are just 1-lane roads that you can't even see around. And it was a drop in the, I don't even know, but
yeah,
but it was absolutely amazing. But yeah, I went from, I love hiking, but I think in the past year prior to that, I went on like maybe 3 or 4 hikes. And then in New Zealand, I was hiking every single day. That's all I cared about. That's all I went for. And yeah, it was one of those things where we've been friends. I'd read your book. I knew all about you, but it was this one time I was like, this is what they're talking about. Just hiking through it. Hiking, everything's fine when you're on the trail. And you're hiking, you figure you get time and space yourself, and you can just like literally meditate almost while you're walking and figure out so much stuff about yourself and your issues that you got to deal with and your whatever challenges you got to face. And yeah, loved it.
So you had this hike picked out. So you picked out like some pretty iconic hikes for New Zealand. Like, you were looking through blogs, you were looking through different recommendations. Tell us about the hike through the cave that you lived to tell about.
Well, that was actually one that I had absolutely no looking up. I didn't look up this hike at all. I don't even know what it's called. I got to look it back up, but it was a random hike. And it was just, I was driving on the road. It was a beautiful day out. I was in a great mood. And I saw this thing that said caves. And I was like, cool. And I guess I had looked at it. I'd seen it. I kind of knew about it, but like the pictures I saw was like kids and families in this cave. And so when I saw the cave, I was like, oh, that's the cave. And I went in, parked, went down, and a bunch of people were coming up from the cave, and and it's about a mile long. And I was like, what's going on down there? And they're like, the river's going through. You can't get through. You can't get past the opening. And I just got back from this 4-day hike in the rain where I was up to my knees in rain gear. So I kind of had this like ego to me where I was like, I can get through this. No biggie. What are these idiots? They don't know how to hike in the rain. And I mean, I don't know either. So I went back up to my van, got on my rain gear from head to toe, and then ventured in this cave, blackout cave And it was like within probably 2 minutes, I got through. I was not touching the ground. I was swimming, to my neck in water. And the river, there was a river flowing through the cave. And I was kind of like, grabbing the sides of the cave. And I kept thinking like, this is just be a little bit like, whatever, a little wet, no big deal. And it just kept going and going and going and going. And there were waterfalls you had to climb up. I was using muscles I didn't even know I had. I'm doing pull-ups in a wet rock. And it got to be kind of scary at one point where I was about half an hour in where I knew if my headlamp went out, which was Derek's headlamp, we talked about that, but Derek gave me this headlamp before I went to New Zealand, and it was like slightly too big for me. So it was kind of like hanging over my eye, like a pirate patch, in a way. And I didn't even check the batteries. I didn't know like how long it was going to last. And yeah, it was getting scary to the point where I was like, I can't make it up, these waterfalls. And a couple of them, I was like, I can't make it up. And I did, and I tried, and I actually made it up. And then ended up getting about the middle of the cave. There's this waterfall that was impassable unless you had ropes and you were a professional rock climber, which I was not, and am not, and had no rope. And there were these guys. I saw these other lights up top, and they were like, "Hey, mate!" And they were these two professional, jacked, 6-pack, muscle dudes, rock climbers. And they were like, "You want a rope, mate?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll give you the rope." And they literally gave me a rope. They helped me like pull up, and when I got to them, I was like, "I'm really sorry, guys. I'm just going to hang out with you guys the rest of the time. I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know why." And they're like, "How'd you get here? How'd you get this far?" And I was like, "I don't know. I thought it was shorter." Anyway, so I ended up luckily going with them the rest of the time. And even got like toward the end when I saw the light of sunlight coming through, I was like, "Oh my God." Like I kept asking them, I was like, "Is it almost over?" And I remember they were like, "Maybe." And I was like, "Maybe? Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous." And I had also bungee jumped a couple days before that I thought was the scariest thing in my life. And then this was like majorly scary. And my shoelace was getting untied. Like I kept having to like tie my shoes in underwater, which I've never really done before. But yeah, word of the wise, never go into a cave alone and don't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. No one knew I was in this cave. There was no the only thing they could have done was sell my car that was parked there if I would have got stuck. But made it out, and these guys were cool as ever. And yeah, they thought I was crazy, which I might have been.
I think so as far as like wellness in the wilderness is concerned, right? Like, let's tie this back to the show. So you made it. And one of the things that I heard you say that I'd like to hear a little bit more about is like the just terror of realizing like, okay, I've climbed up some waterfalls. I've swam through this cave. This one's massive. Like how close to like pooping your pants were you when you got to the point before, like right before you saw the guys with ropes? Like, where were you? Like, have you ever been that nervous or scared or present in your body and aware of what's happening as you were right before you realized that there were angels climbing with ropes on that waterfall?
Yeah. No, I'd never been in that situation before in my life, but there was something in the back of my brain that always is kind of like, today's not the day. I'm not going out today. Like I'm not going to die. So I just kept going, and I was like, I can get through it. And like, you kind of always have to do, backup plans where I was like, all right, if the light goes out, if I do slip, I might break a couple bones, but I'll like sweep down in the river back into the opening. Like I won't actually die today. Today's not the day for me. So there's kind of that feeling that kind of gets you through. But yeah,
because usually your motto is "today is the day," which is such a saying. So I like that you flipped it around.
Today's the day for goodness.
Exactly.
Today's not the day to end it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I was like, today's the day I'm gonna make it through. I'm gonna make it through. But yeah, it's a beautiful feeling when you get to do stuff like that by yourself, because you get to, no one else is pushing you. No one else is telling you to turn back. If I was with anyone, I swear to God, anyone in my life, no one would have gone into that cave. Like, no one. None of my friends would have said, let's go in that cave. And so I'm glad I did, because it was super fun and an experience, but very scary at the same time. And I won't do it again. I won't do a cave. A cave alone just is not a good idea, especially non-professional with no ropes or anything. But it is, you break through some stuff in your own wellness and your own life. You get through it where you can also kind of reflect it back to your own life of problems. You're like, this is impossible. It's like, no, you'll get through the cave. You'll get through it.
Yeah.
Every now and then you might find some angel with a rope where you didn't, where you don't want to go back, but you can. Like, it's not the end, but you kind of keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And then stuff like that happens in real life. It's like a perfect motto for life.
Yeah. What a beautiful metaphor. So like, bring a buddy when you go in a cave, but if you find yourself alone, just keep swimming and keep climbing.
Keep going. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad that you had that experience and that you got to share it with everybody, because it makes a great story. So thank you. Derek, for you, I know we had you join us for a retreat on Catalina Island, and we talked about that on our other show, not on Wellness in the Wilderness, but we talked a little bit about your gift to uplift. So talk to the folks and tell these listeners a little bit about your experience in Sequoia National Park last summer with us, and how that went for you, and what it was like to play your music, be the man of the forest in the giant forest. Walk us through it.
Yeah. Wow. I was just so grateful to go out there. I haven't really been out to a lot of the national parks in California, and Sequoia, Yosemite are kind of like the big two. And so to be amongst the big trees was such an experience. I've seen redwoods before, but the Sequoia's biggest trees in the world. And it was just absolutely unbelievable just to be there in the first place. But we stayed in the heart of it. We were right in the middle, right by General Sherman, the biggest of the biggest. And there's just a very magical feeling in that forest. So to be able to come out and bring the violin, to talk to people on a one-to-one level, and bring that gift to them, but then also they're giving the gift back in these environments and Hiking My Feelings, where you're learning about yourself through other people, through their stories, and healing with them. And that's just such a magical experience. I just felt like Sequoia was one of those places that, you'll never forget. And the fact that we got to stay in the national forest, we did a service activity where we're healing the meadows, and we're basically like filling these meadows with the abundance of grass and stuff around us. I remember, the water's carving through the meadow, and over time it was kind of carving a ditch through it. So we had this reforestation act where we're filling the meadow. And I remember you kind of you're always so good at tying in what's happening, what we're doing in nature. We're filling that gap back up, and healing that meadow was just such an important thing. With the glory around us, it was a magical experience. But to be able to stand on the rock with the group and play those songs collectively for everybody, it was really some memorable moments that were so healing to me and to everybody else. So Hiking My Feelings just always bringing full force with tying everything together. What you guys do is just so special. I'm so grateful to be a part of it on Catalina, Sequoia, and on upcoming trips. I'm I'm just really grateful to be a part of this mission that you guys are on.
Well, thank you. And for folks that aren't aware, we do have 2 retreats coming up this summer in Sequoia National Park. We have one in July and one in August, and those dates can be found on our website at hikingmyfeelings.org/retreats. And the service project that Derek was talking about and like bringing the music to it is what like my ultimate vision. Like the retreat that Derek was a part of last summer was my bucket list retreat that I wanted to host. Because when I got off the Trans-Catalina Trail in 2018 here on Catalina Island now, the first call I made was to the Catalina Conservancy. And I was like, listen, I want to help get the word out. I was healed deeply by this land. How can I repay it? Like, how can I pay this forward? And to be able to do what we did in Sequoia with the service projects, where we're talking for ourselves, the healing that we're doing as humans and in community with each other and amongst these giant trees that have been there for thousands of years and have heard so many stories. We're talking about like our invasive thoughts and our limiting beliefs and these habits that put these deep grooves in our brain. And then we're going out into the meadow using the materials that are already there to then plug these drainage ditches and these erosion ditches. So we're healing the lands that help heal us. And then on top of that, what Derek was talking about standing out on the rock, we had this beautiful sunset jam on Sunset Rock. We were all just facing the sun and standing there, and like Derek's playing the violin, and it's just absolute magic. And it was a bucket list moment for me. Like I was just, I'm pretty sure I did cry. Yep, I did. And we were like, we're all holding hands and we're like facing the sunset and we're doing the thing where we yell, but we don't yell. And then we like yell, but with our mouths closed. And then we like let it rip. And it was just like in those moments before, during, and after with violin, and like Brendan, when I hear you guys play guitar, when I hear you two in particular jamming, like there's something so special about like the vibration of the music. And I don't know enough about it to talk about it eloquently, but maybe when we get back from the break, we can chat about that. So when we get back, and before we go, if you are grateful, here's what I want to do. On this last section, we're going to talk to Derek and Brendan about everything they've got coming up in 2023, where you can catch them live, when Alific's next album's coming out, what Derek's working on. And then we're going to do something that we do at all of our events, which is our group gratitude circle. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to go around the circle and share what we're grateful for. And if you're listening and you want to call in, if you have a question for the guys, call in and ask. If you don't, I would love to hear what you're grateful for. So you can call us at 1-888-346-9141. And that number will be played again before we come back. So don't go anywhere. Think about what you're grateful for, and then give us a call. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN. Ready to find your wellness in the wilderness? Look no further than Hiking My Feelings. Through a combination of community and self-discovery, our programs are designed to give you the space and support to connect life's dots. If you're looking to figure out who you are underneath the stories you've been given, and are ready to redesign the map of where you're headed with actionable steps and opportunities to dream big, we're here to walk alongside you. Whether you're a seasoned adventure enthusiast or brand new to the healing power of nature, we've got your back. Visit hikingmyfeelings.org today to download our free Trail Thoughts worksheets and learn more about Hiking My Feelings.
Sawyer is more than an outdoor company. Every Sawyer product you buy contributes to our common humanity, bringing Sawyer water filtration systems to people in need all around the world. In just 2022 alone, 260,000 households in over 45 countries received clean drinking water through Sawyer filters. Over the past 10 years, we've teamed up with over 140 charities in 80 countries to provide long-term, sustainable relief, domestically, internationally, and in disaster situations. Together, we're saving millions of lives. Thank you.
Have you ever spoken unkindly to yourself? Do you realize when you do? Are you ready to make changes, but find yourself completely paralyzed by the choices in front of you? We live in a hyper-connected, always-on world, and frankly, it's exhausting. Let's make time to disconnect from the distractions and reconnect with yourself. Hiking My Feelings exists to help people discover the healing power of nature. Kickstart your healing journey and grab a copy of the book that started our movement, Hiking My Feelings, Stepping into the Healing Power of Nature. Named one of Audible's best hiking audiobooks and available wherever books are sold. Visit hikingmyfeelings.org today to learn more.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You're listening to Wellness in the Wilderness with Sydney Williams. Have a question for Sydney and her guests? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now back to the show with Sydney.
All right, party people, welcome back to Wellness in the Wilderness. I'm your host, Sydney Williams, and I'm here with Alific, aka Brendan Dane, and Man of the Force, aka Derek Waldmann. And before the break, we were talking about some of the adventures they've had, some of the activities that we've done together as far as bringing music and nature and healing and hiking together. And we've got a new album coming out. And by we, I mean Alific. I'm not a musician. I'm not part of this, but these guys, Alific's got a new album coming out. So Brendan, tell us a little bit about what we can expect on this new record and what is coming up as far as ways for people to consume it live and digitally.
Yeah, so super psyched. The new Alific album will be released. It's called Write It on the Wall, and it's coming out March 23rd, 2023. And yeah, it's one of my best album I've ever produced in terms of songwriting, guest people on there. There's a lot more vocals and singing, but still some instrumental jammers that I've always loved doing. And yeah, so March 23rd, the first single to be released is with Aaron Wolf, my buddy from San Diego, and that's coming out on February 3rd. So I'm going to announce that. This is actually the first time I'm going to announce that it's even coming out, but February 3rd, that's going to be released. And then we have a album release show at Winston's in San Diego on March 30th, which will be a week after the album's drops. So hopefully everyone can kind of get their bearings on what songs they like and sing-alongs and stuff. And then we'll be playing it all live at Winston's. And I'm really psyched because we're going to have... I've done live stuff before with live musicians, but this will be the first full live band I've ever done as Alific. So I'm super psyched about that.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So What can you, like, for people that have never made music before, what, like, kind of on a, like, probably higher level, like, we don't need to get super technical with it, but, like, walk me through the process of putting this album in particular together. Like, how long does that take? What are the steps that you have to do to get an album together and then ready to release to the world?
I guess you kind of have to just be confident in yourself that the songs are done. That's the biggest thing that I have, because I have hundreds of songs, but they're all like, they're not done until you're kind of like, that one's done. You know, no more tambourine, no more shaker, no more extra thing. Like, you have to be like, it's done. So this one's taken me quite a while. It's been about 3 years. I mean, with the COVID thing, kind of backed up stuff. But yeah, this one's been in the cooker for quite a while. With and some songs are even like, I got one with a guy named Bobby Hustle that I wrote back in 2014. So like, some songs are just getting the daylight. But you know, everything happens for a reason. So they weren't ready until then anyway. But yeah,
it sounds like let's take a, we got a caller. We got Craig McKnight. I've heard of this guy. Yeah, Craig McKnight. Thanks for calling in. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, party people?
Hey.
So for anybody that doesn't know, Craig McKnight is the owner, proprietor, and deliverer of the best muffins you've ever had via Muffin But Good Vibes. And if you were on the Zoom today, you would see that I am wearing my brand new flannel for the acoustic sessions. So, Craig, how can we help you? What's up, man?
I was just, thinking I would call in since you were talking to these fine fellows over here.
Do you have a question or something that you're grateful for that you'd like to share with the listening audience and Derek and Brendan?
Yeah, well, I obviously want to say I'm grateful for the friendship that I have with yourself, Sydney, and your husband, Barry. You guys have become very, very close friends. For those that don't know, Alific is one of our sound engineers for the acoustic sessions. So, of course, I wholeheartedly appreciate that guy. And then, I'm waiting for that moment that Derek gets to grace our backyard and play violin on one of the sessions, which I'm sure will happen soon.
Yes, that shall happen. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, Craig, I'm gonna throw that gratitude right back at you. I am grateful for your friendship. I am grateful for your creativity and your community leadership. I'm grateful for all the opportunities that you create for people to make great music and get their music out there via just one more deliciously sweet vehicle, which is the Muffin But Good Vibes acoustic. The thing that I'm most grateful for, Craig, is above and beyond everything else, I think it's your daughter, Dakota. She's like one of my favorite people. And it's a hard toss up between the muffins and my little mini-me. But between that and the friend you create and bring into the world and everything you've done for Hiking My Feelings, I am grateful to know you. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Sydney.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Into conversation about putting an album out. So you've got this album, it's coming, and we are gearing up for a release on March 23rd. We're going to have a party on the 30th. And when you sit down to write music, let's rewind. Down to write books. I think about, I literally did this morning. I was like, how will I prepare for this? And I visualized sat down to write it. I was like, okay, the Kelly Clarkson show. And she asks me, when my book is a bestseller, it's not yet, but when it is. And Kelly Clarkson has me on the show. And she's like, hey, girlfriend, tell me about your creative process. What was it like? I said that I wanted it to be the easiest thing that I've ever done, that the book just poured out of me and it was super cathartic. And then that's exactly what happened. Do you go through any kind of rituals as you're making music or as you're getting ready to release music that help you stay grounded in your expansion as you bring new music to the world?
I have a lot of lists. I guess I do for making an album is not just, once you get done with the music, which is the majority of it, then you have everything else. You got artwork, you got merchandise, you got release date, you got, promotion, you got all this other stuff that comes in hand. So I have to make lists on what to do once the music's done. But, and even with music, I have a whiteboard. I don't know if you can see it, but I don't have anything. I erase it all now because I'm done with the album. But each song I usually have graphs of stuff that says what I need to do for each song, whether it's, just clean up the drums, add the mix, add blah, 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 add vocals, add violin, mix it a little better, master it. So that's kind of my preparation. But in terms of starting a song, usually the start is a match of a flame. It's just a fire. I'll be not even wanting to start on a new song. I'll be doing another song and I find a sample or something that sparks an idea and I just close what I'm doing and I start the new song. And that's generally how they all work. Or I'll be playing something, I play it wrong and I'm like, well, actually that's cool. And then it's scratch everything I'm doing, start a new thing. So usually it's a flame of inspiration that just, I don't know where it comes from, but you always have to strike on it as it's hot, or else you lose it, or you forget about it or something.
Absolutely. And Derek, for you, similar kind of question. We've been talking about how albums are made and beyond the album. some of the rituals and or like visualizations we do, at least I think of my book as my music. Do you have any kind of like rituals or superstitious type things that you do when you're getting ready to either contribute to a song or write a song or release a new track?
Yeah, I just really tried to feel the song, and I try not to rush the process. It's kind of like writing, like it can come in full force sometimes and pour out of you, and sometimes it's just not the right day. So I really try to pay attention to when the flow is really happening. But on this album, it was kind of funny because Brendan would have me step in the studio like 10 minutes before work, and I would just like snap off all these vocals for the songs. So
like
sometimes,
on the fly.
Yeah, sometimes just trying to pay attention to when the feeling is right is really the crucial thing for me.
So for both of you, before we wrap up today, do you have any quick tips for people that you can share about how you find your version of wellness in the wilderness? Like, what is it for you? Is it going to the beach for a walk? Is it sitting underneath a tree? Is it watering your plants? Like, what is a quick way that you guys find wellness in your version of the wilderness, whatever the wilderness means to you?
Yeah, go ahead, B. I mean, you walk all the time.
Yeah. My favorite ritual is just morning walk on the beach. I mean, I wake up, something about getting my feet in the sand, out of my shoes, and out of flip-flops, and actually toes in the sand. I find if I'm ever stressed about anything, it disappears the second my feet hit the sand. And it's one of my favorite moments, just listening to music, walking on the beach. And to me, when I get in that nature feel of earth on my feet and toes, something just erases, and I'm just present in the moment and appreciating life, and which is the point of life. And anyway, so that's my favorite thing. That's my go-to, and the easiest way I can do it is just, I live in San Diego. I'm very fortunate to be able to walk on the beach, but that's my easiest go-to.
Love that.
I think the key is just grounding, like getting like you said, getting your feet in the earth, sunshine on you, starting the day off right. I think that's crucial to wherever you're at. Just get out in the light, get your feet in the earth, and stay connected in the in-between of that. That's the special place.
Ooh, stay connected in the in-between. All right. So like we were talking about earlier, the new album, what's the new album called, guys? What do we got?
Write It on the Wall.
Write It on the Wall. Write It on the Wall, which is Alific's new album, is coming out on March 23rd. If you're interested in just like the superstar live version of this, be sure to check out their album release party at Winston's in San Diego on March 30th. That first single with Aaron Wolf is coming out on February 3rd, so stay tuned for that. Guys, where can people find you? Instagram, websites, what do we got? Hit it with it.
Yeah, Instagram at Man of the Forest or manoftheforest.com, and that's with an S at the end, plural forests.
Plural.
And Brendan, how about you?
Alificmusic.com or just Alific. I think if you just Google Alific, you'll get a bunch of, I'm the only Alific out there. All right. I made up the word, so it should be only me.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, next week, it's just me on the show, guys. I've started a habit of where I'm taking the last episode of the month to myself to reflect on this experience so far with all the guests we've had on Wellness in the Wilderness, share some updates about what we've got going on Catalina Island for Hiking My Feelings and some of the other projects we're getting ready to launch. And one of those will be launching next week. So pay attention to that and come join me and come say, hey. As far as what I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here, the opportunity to have this conversation. So I'm grateful for the technology that makes it possible. I'm grateful to Voice America for having me on the network. And I'm grateful to Brendan and Derek for joining us today. So next week, it's only me. And we're just going to do it. So I hope that this episode of Wellness in the Wilderness has been a breath of fresh air. Until next week, be kind, do good things. And what do we say, Derek? It's a gift to uplift.
It is a gift to uplift. So Get out there and make one.
All right. Well, next week we'll be here with me and we will see you then. Until next time, have a great week. See you later.
Thanks for joining us on this week's show. We hope this episode has been a breath of fresh air for you and has inspired you to find your wellness in the wilderness. We will reconnect with nature and you again next week.
Since 1984, Sawyer has existed to support your wildest adventures. Learn about their advanced insect repellents and family of technical lightweight water filters at Sawyer.com.